Ah, the rose. I mean, it's pretty much the queen of any ornamental garden, right? It's loved for those gorgeous flowers and that incredible smell. But what if I told you that the common wisdom for getting more flowers is actually making you miss out on the plant's greatest gift?
Seriously, think about it. Every single time you snip off a spent bloom, the practice gardeners call deadheading, could you actually be tossing out a hidden treasure? We're about to find out why the answer to that is a big, resounding yes.
So, here's the deal, the big trade-off. On one hand, deadheading gives us exactly what we think we want, this endless parade of beautiful flowers all season long. But, and this is a huge but, in doing that, it completely stops the plant from producing its fruit, the rosehip. And we're not talking about just any old fruit. This stuff is a nutritional and medicinal powerhouse. So the choice really comes down to this: seasonal beauty or a potent, storable harvest.
To really get why this matters so much, we've got to take a little trip back in time. Because, the value of the rosehip isn't some new age discovery. No, it's ancient wisdom that literally became a national lifesaver in a time of crisis. People have been using rosehips for centuries, all the way back to ancient Greece and in traditional Chinese medicine. But its most dramatic moment? Oh, that came during World War II. When German U-boats cut off citrus imports to Britain, the country was facing a massive vitamin C shortage and the threat of scurvy. So what did the government do? They launched a nationwide campaign to harvest rosehips. Millions of pounds were collected by citizens, turned into syrup, and given out to keep people healthy. The humble rosehip became a strategic national resource. How amazing is that?
And this chart right here shows you exactly why that worked. We all think of oranges as the gold standard for vitamin C, don't we? Well, take a look at this. The amount of vitamin C in many types of rosehips, especially the really tough ones like Rosa rugosa, absolutely dwarfs what you'd find in an orange. It's not even a fair fight.
But wait, there's more. The story does not end with vitamin C. Rosehips are the whole package, stuffed with carotenoids for vitamin A and powerful antioxidants. And then you get to the real game changer, a compound called GOPO. This has been clinically studied for its potent anti-inflammatory effects, and has shown real promise in helping to reduce arthritis pain, often without the side effects you get from common pain relievers. This takes the rosehip from just a vitamin source to a seriously sophisticated therapeutic food. So if rosehips are so amazing, why on earth do we work so hard to prevent them from growing? Well, it all comes down to the simple science of a plant's energy budget. Okay, first, a quick refresher on what deadheading even is. It's simply the act of cutting off a faded flower. When we do this, we're interrupting a crucial signal. We're essentially telling the plant, hey, your job isn't done yet. Don't you dare start making seeds. Get back to work and make more flowers. We're basically tricking the plant into redirecting all its energy back into another bloom cycle. And this is what that plant's energy budget looks like when you do that. When you're constantly deadheading, the vast majority of the plant's resources are being sunk into making new flowers and the stems to hold them up. The plant is just stuck in this perpetual loop of trying and failing to reproduce.
But now, look what happens when you just stop. The second you let a flower fade and get pollinated, the plant's entire economy shifts. The developing hip becomes the #1 priority, demanding tons of energy to mature the fruit in its seeds. And at the same time, the plant starts getting ready for winter, hardening off its stems and roots. The conflict here is absolute. The bottom line is, you can have those late-season flowers, or you can have this amazing harvest. You really can't have both.
Okay, so let's say I've convinced you. You want the hips. This brings us to the most important question of all. When do you make the switch? Because believe me, it is all about timing. The magic number you need to burn into your brain is 8 to 12. From the moment a flower gets pollinated, that plant needs 8 to 12 weeks of decent weather to grow a fully mature, nutritionally packed rosehip. This timeline is the foundation for everything else we're about to talk about. So what does that mean for you and your garden? Well, for most of us in temperate climates, it means you have got to put down the pruning shears sometime between late July and mid-August. This is it. This is your critical deadline. Go ahead, mark it on your calendar, because this one decision determines whether or not you get a harvest. So, why is this window so important? Well, first, it makes sure those developing hips get those 8 to 12 weeks of warmth they need to get fully ripe. But it also sends a natural signal to the plant to stop pushing out new growth and start getting its existing stems ready for the cold. If you deadhead too late in the season, you'll just encourage a bunch of soft new shoots that will get zapped and killed by the first frost, and that can really weaken the whole plant for next year. Now, of course, your strategy is going to change just a little bit depending on what kind of rose you're growing. If you have one of those beautiful, old-fashioned, once-blooming roses, your job is easy. Do nothing. Just let it do its thing. For most modern repeat-blooming roses, your choice is key. You have to decide which big wave of flowers will be your last one. And for the super producers like Rosa rugosa, they mature so fast you can often push that deadline all the way to mid-August and still get an amazing crop.
All right, you've been patient, you timed it right, and now your rose bushes are covered in these beautiful little red jewels. So, let's talk about how to actually harvest them and put them to good use.
Here's your super simple 4-step plan. First, try to wait for a light frost. It sounds weird, but it actually makes the hips a bit sweeter. Pick them on a dry day, and please make sure the plant hasn't been sprayed with any pesticides. Then comes the prep work. Slice them in half and scrape out all the seeds and those little fuzzy, irritating hairs inside. And finally, process them right away to lock in all those nutrients, either by drying them for tea or boiling them into a syrup, just like they did back in the war.
Oh, and by the way, don't you dare throw out those seeds you just scraped out. They have an incredible second life. Those seeds can be pressed to create rose hip oil, which is a super luxe ingredient in cosmetics that's prized for helping with scars and signs of aging. It's a true 2-for-1 harvest.
And even if you don't harvest every single one, leaving the hips on the bush is a huge gift to your winter garden. They're a vital food source for birds when things get scarce. And let's be honest, those bright red and orange hips just look absolutely stunning against a gray winter sky or a light dusting of snow. They bring beauty long after the petals have fallen. So this brings us all the way back to that fundamental choice. By understanding the science and just making one strategic shift in your timing, you can elevate your rosebush from just a pretty decoration to a source of nutrition, medicine, and wildlife support. The only question left is, what will you choose for your garden? Will it be just for beauty or for bounty too?